Okay, thank you very much for this prestigious opportunity and to present our study. On behalf of the other co-authors, I will be going to present Menstrual Hygiene Practice among Adolescent Girls in Ethiopia. This is a systematic review and meta-analysis, and my name is Biniam Saladin. This is my outline of presentation. I do have some introductory parts, objectives, method, and result and discussion. And finally, we do have also conclusion in the recommendations. Just to begin with some basic definitions of menstrual hygiene management. According to UNICEF, women and adolescent girls use a clean material to absorb or collect menstrual blood. And this material can be changed in privacy as often as necessary for the duration of menstruation. And it also includes using soap and water for washing their body as required, and having access to facilities to dispose used menstrual management is commonly termed as safe menstrual hygiene management. Just to give you some key figures, every month around 1.8 billion women and girls worldwide menstruate. That is over 800 million every day, and millions of these girls and women are unable to manage their menstrual cycles in a dignified and healthy way. This is particularly in a low-end income setting. And an estimated 335 million girls went to school without water and soap available for washing their hands, bodies, or clothes when changing sanitary pads, according to the UNICEF and Global Water report. And the possible factors for adolescent girls, most of the time they experience while they are experiencing menstrual hygiene, is that lack of access to menstrual hygiene product, inadequate wash facilities, lack of separate toilet with doors that can be safely closed in schools, and fear of blood leaking, menstrual pain, inadequate knowledge towards their menstrual cycle and its management. We do have also societal myths, stigma surrounding menstruation, discriminatory social norms, and cultural taboos, and poverty are these are the commonly known factors that affect adolescent girls' menstrual hygiene management experience. When I come to the Ethiopian context, 1 in every 4 girls knew about menstruation before their first period, according to the previously conducted studies. And most of school adolescent girls practice unsafe menstrual hygiene. For example, around 30.9% of adolescent girls use old clothes for menstrual absorbent, and 62.5% wash their genitalia using water only, and 65% disposed absorbent material in open field. Despite there are several studies conducted on menstrual hygiene management in Ethiopia, there was, however, no nationwide study that looked at the full proportion of safe menstrual hygiene management among adolescent girls. Furthermore, existing studies finding were inconsistent, and most of the time they are characterized by significant variability. For example, a study conducted in Northeast Ethiopia reported that only 35% of adolescent girls had safe menstrual hygiene management. In Northwest, it's around 29. In Eastern Ethiopia, it's around 55. And in Addis, it's around 70.2%. So there is some kinds of significant variability among the existing studies. Therefore, our objective is that just to estimate, our primary objective is that just to estimate the full proportion of safe menstrual hygiene management among adolescent girls in Ethiopia. When I come to the method section, the protocol in registry, the protocol for this review was registered in the Prospero with the following record ID number. Regarding the database searching, we use PubMed, Hinari, ScienceDirect, and other known databases to identify a possible source of primary studies. Regarding the searching strategy, we use key terms and mesh terms separately or in combination with other Boolean operator terms to identify the possible eligible articles. Regarding the inclusion criteria, observational studies were included in this review. Regarding study setting, studies conducted in Ethiopia, and our population is commonly focused on the adolescent girls aged between 10 up to 19. And regarding the publication status, both published and unpublished studies were considered. And there is no restriction on the publication date, since there is no prior study conducted. And regarding the language, articles published in English language were considered in the systematic review and meta-analysis, and all publications reported up to May 31, 2021 were considered. And systematic reviews, commentaries, letter to the editor, short communications, and qualitative studies were excluded from this review. When I come to the study selection and data extraction, investigators independently search and screen identified articles to identify the possible eligible articles against the predetermined inclusion and exclusion criteria, and differences were resolved by discussion. In this review, we use the JBI quality assessment tool for prevalence studies to evaluate the risk of bias of the included studies. Regarding the statistical analysis, we use Stata version 40 software was used for statistical analysis, and the heterogeneity was assessed by using I-squared statistics, and the Cochrane Q-test were used. And to identify the possible source of heterogeneity among the included studies, we conduct subgroup analysis, and we also perform meta-regression and sensitivity analysis were also performed. And publication bias was evaluated using funnel plots, and Beck's test at a significant level of less than 0.05 was considered. When I come to the result and discussion section, overall, the search identified around 1,045 research articles, of which 22 studies meet the inclusion criteria and included in the final meta-analysis, and a total of 12,330 adolescent girls were participated in the current systematic review in meta-analysis. This is the Prisma flow diagram of the study selection for the current systematic review and meta-analysis. Regarding the meta-analysis report, the overall pool proportion of safe menstrual hygiene management among adolescent girls in Ethiopia was found to be around 52.69%. Because of the observed high heterogeneity among included studies, we use a random effect meta-analysis model. And this is a forest plot that shows a pool proportion of safe menstrual hygiene management. And the current meta-analysis shows that almost 1 in 2 adolescent girls only had safe menstrual hygiene management in Ethiopia, meaning safe menstrual hygiene management can remain a particular challenge for adolescent girls in the country. And we also perform subgroup analysis, and we observe there is regional variation regarding to the proportion of safe menstrual hygiene management, and the highest is reported in the Harare region, and the lowest was reported in SNAPR. This figure also shows us the subgroup, the forest plot of the subgroup analysis of menstrual hygiene management among adolescent girls. When I come to the type of menstrual absorbent use, the use of commercial menstrual absorbent in Ethiopia was around 64.63%, and it is highest in Addis, and the list was reported in SNAPR. And this is also the forest plot of the pool proportion of use of commercial sanitary pads. And the current finding was almost comparable with a systematic review that is conducted in India, which reported that around 67% of girls use commercial sanitary absorbent in urban setting. As the current cost of sanitary pad is too high for many girls, and they may depend on homemade clothes, as we observed in the present systematic review. And As already I mentioned that commercial part with the primary absorbent material used by most of the adolescent girls in Ethiopia, and the second predominantly used absorbent material was homemade clothes. And as clothes was traditionally used to absorb menstrual flows, and as they can cheaper, and a significant number of adolescent girls use homemade clothes to absorb menstrual flows. And the current finding was almost comparable with study conducted in many low-income settings. And in this review, we noted that homemade clothes and disposable piece of rag was common in studies conducted in Amara region with 53.03% and 40.33% respectively. Regarding the hygiene during menstruation, in the current systematic review, around 50.69% of schoolgirls reported they use both soap and water for genital cleaning, and around 45% only use water for genital cleaning. And a recent study reported that washing with water only has compared with water and soap with a symptomatic case of urogenital infections. And regarding the frequency of genital cleaning, less than half, meaning 41.60% of schoolgirls reported wash their genital daily or 2 times a day during menstruations. And this finding was lower than a study conducted in India. And the possible reason for the discrepancy among these two reviews may be due to the wash and scarcity of water between these two countries. For example, in Ethiopia, nearly 39 million people in rural areas do not have access to a safe water supply. Furthermore, the wash infrastructure in many schools in Ethiopia is currently in a poor state, with over half of the girls, around 56% of reports there is never access to water in school, and 77% of the communal and school toilets had fecal matter present in the facility. So with regard to this, the frequency of genital cleaning is less than what we observed in the other low-income setting. Regarding bathing during menstruation, almost half bathed daily during menstruation, and the subgroup analysis also shows that bathing were common in Addis Ababa. And this finding was implication for incidence of infections, because currently we observe that it was pointed that the cleanness of the genital area and access to safe menstrual hygiene products can reduce the incidence of infection up to 97%. And changing sanitary napkin every 4 hours and washing hand whenever sanitary napkin are changed is a significant step towards ensuring a good hygiene during menstrual hygiene. When I come to the disposal of absorbent materials in Ethiopia, as you observe from the bar graph, around 62.18% of used menstrual absorbent materials end up being thrown in the latrine. And safe disposal will become a growing problem across Ethiopia as more females turn to the commercial sanitary parts, and disposal of commercial parts is a matter of concern because of they contain high number of degradable components. For example, a study conducted in India reports that every year about 12.3 billion sanitary napkins were generated, and a majority of which are not biodegradable, and 23% throw in waste in open space like drains and rivers. The same is true in Ethiopia. Regarding the school absenteeism during menstruation, 1 in 4 girls miss 1 or more school days during menstruations. That is around 32.03% of schoolgirls in Ethiopia miss at least 1 or more school days during their menstruation. This was higher in Amara region, and followed by Addis Ababa, and followed by Oromia region. And girls from resource-poor countries worldwide attributed frequent school absence to difficulties in managing their menses, and so reported from different kinds of studies. For instance, nearly 2/3 of adolescent girls miss school in Uganda, at least one per month because of their menstruation. So this is the serious public health problem that need attention. In many cases, school absenteeism appears to be closely associated with lack of privacy, gender-specific wash facilities in school, and limited availability of water and sanitation facilities in a school environment is a possible source of school absenteeism because of, meaning during menstruation. And we also perform sensitivity analysis to identify the possible source of heterogeneity and to detect the influence of one study on the overall meta-analysis. And as you observe from this figure, there is no single study that is influence our full proportion. Result from regression also shows that there is no relationship between safe menstrual hygiene management and sample size. Regarding the publication bias, a large symmetric inverted funnel resembles the absence of publication bias. And in the current review, we also performed the BICS and the Eager test where showed that there is no statistical significant estimate that show that there is no publication bias. When I come to the limitation of the present systematic review meta-analysis, all the included studies were cross-sectional, so causality cannot be inferred. And the included studies used, most of the time they include either self-parameter questionnaire or interview. So the issue of social desirability is there. And there was high heterogeneity between included studies, as you observe from our force plot. To overcome this, we perform a subgroup analysis and sensitivity analysis in meta-regression to explore factors that affect the outcome variable. And we do not find some of the studies in some regions, so our study may not be generalized at the country level. Finally, to conclude our finding, the review found that only half of the adolescent girls in Ethiopia had a safe menstrual hygiene management practice, and a significant number of girls use homemade clothes or disposable piece of rag for their menstrual hygiene management, and inappropriate disposal of used menstrual hygiene materials was common in Ethiopia, and 1 in 4 girls miss at least 1 or more school days during their menstruation. Finally, my recommendation is that to ensure that girls in Ethiopia can manage menstruation hygienically and with dignity, strong gender-specific wash facilities along with awareness creation activities at every level are needed. And so school girls require safe and free, if possible, affordable menstrual hygiene product to improve menstrual hygiene practice and support girls' school attendance is very important. And above all, enhancing the existing school wash program in order to promote a clean school environment as well as safe menstrual hygiene management among adolescent girls is required. And finally, I want to acknowledge the Ethiopian Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists to give me this chance to present our systematic review meta-analysis finding. These are sample reference. Thank you very much.